This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Hardcore fantasy football player props here as we go out to the Progressive guest line for our weekly chat with Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian. GuillotineLeagues.com is the website. Podcast Fantasy Football Weekly. Charch, good afternoon. Thanks for the time as always, pal. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's not the greatest Thursday night game of all time, but I've got a bunch of props for the second segment that are all about tonight's game. And I think if this game just unfolds the way I personally would like it to, these props are gonna feel pretty good, and we're gonna rationalize them pretty well. So I'm excited at least for some betting angles in a game that might otherwise be kind of meh.
All right, very good. I can't wait for those coming up in about 15 minutes. Before the last break, I said I think we watched the coming out party for this potential star in the league last week, and if you were going to agree on Quinshon Judkins, are you that high on him? Like, I love the dude. I mean, he completely popped,
yep.
Right?
Yep, totally. This is just not a one-off thing. And if he wasn't a sensational talent, there's no way the Browns would have done what they did, which was sign him and then like 10 days later start him. You know, they worked him into the game plan immediately. Kevin Stefanski knew that Quinshon Judkins was on a whole different level than every other running back that they've got on the field, and worked him immediately into the lineup. He is a freaking beast. He's got that rare combination of power, footwork, speed. It's just, he's a complete back. He can catch better than people realize that he can catch. And we're going to start seeing him getting more and more involved in the passing game, something that where I think his lack of being there for training camp in the preseason has limited his third down snaps, but that's starting to change too. And he's getting more reps there. And so Judkins is going to start helping through the air a lot as well.
Flacco's traded. A day later, he's named the starter. What do you expect out of him against the Packers again for Cincinnati?
Is a disaster. And I love to use the word again, Paulie. The Packers just prepped for him 3 weeks ago, put him on 142 passing yards and 0 touchdowns. And here he comes again, but with a worse offensive line. That's possible. The Bengals ranked 31st in pass block win rate. You know, if you're trading in the division, right, you only make the trade in the division if you know you're not going to be humiliated by the trade, because the player's going to go against you twice. He can talk game plan and all the other stuff, right? Look at Jahan Dotson. I mean, when Washington traded Jahan Dotson in the division right before the start of a season, they're like, that guy's not going to hurt us. That's what the Browns just did. They're like, they know Flacco's washed. He's not going to help. He had just 2 scores in 4 games. He had 6 picks. Not all his fault. Some of it was on his receivers who gave away some picks. But here's the thing about Flacco that was really killing him. And try to get your mind around this. He was throwing the league's shortest pass, barely 5 yards, and he was at a 58% completion rate. You're in the Anthony Richardson zone at 58% completion rate on 5-yard passing. That should be like an 80% completion rate at 5 yards, but he couldn't do it. This is going to be a wreck and maybe a short-term solution. You know, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins obviously are huge upgrades from what he had in Cleveland, but I don't think it's going to matter here. I think his days of coming in as a white knight are over.
All right. So you don't even think like upgrade at all from what we've had from Jake Browning so far?
Honestly, no.
No.
And Browning was getting killed by his offensive line, and Browning's not great either. And but what we were getting from Flacco was just when he was under duress, it was all dump off stuff and inaccurate at that. And I think it's going to be the same thing.
Okay.
The guy who could help, if there's one player that's going to be aided by Joe Flacco, it is this particular guy. And I should have looked up his prop, and I haven't done it yet. It's Mike Gesicki. If you look at what Flacco has done with his tight ends over the last 3 seasons, it's all tight end play, including this year, where we got both David Njoku and Harold Fannin. I talked about these 5-yard passes. That's tight end territory right there. So Mike Gesicki, normally somebody we'd never roster in fantasy, we wouldn't throw any money against. If there's somebody that's going to be a beneficiary here, it's going to be a tight end.
I'm seeing 2.5 catches over a little bit of plus money at certain books. Yards prop 17.5 range.
Yeah, that's your play. And as far as I'm concerned, because I don't know off the top of my head where Cleveland's tight ends rank in catches, but I'm guessing it's right at or near the top of the league in total catches by tight ends. So I would play the reception side more before I'd play the yard side, but they're both absolutely playable.
All right. Well, strong. You were great with Mason last week as well when you saw the number. What do we expect out of Fields again?
Thank you.
With rushing. What does Fields do against Denver in the London game?
Boy, I've got stat of the day coming on this one. So Fields has been a great fantasy producer in his 3 full games. He has finished as quarterback 2, quarterback 4, and quarterback 7. That's elite stuff. That's like Josh Allen level finishes right there for Justin Fields. But he's almost entirely doing it with his legs. And what happens if he doesn't run? Because the Broncos, incredibly, on the entire season have allowed 15 quarterback rushing yards. That's it.
No.
Whole season, 15 quarterback rushing yards. And they faced Daniel Jones, who they held to 2 rushing yards. He's super mobile. Jalen Hurts, obviously very mobile. He had 3 rushing yards. So if Fields can't get it done with his legs, then he's got to try to pass his way to fantasy relevancy against the Broncos. This is the league's best pass rushing team. They lead the NFL in pressures. They lead the NFL in sacks, sack percentage, and the Jets rank 23rd in pass blocking. So you can see a scenario where Justin Fields has got to make instant decisions in the passing game, and that's not great for Justin Fields, when he can set up, scan the field, and eventually find his guys where he's an okay passer. That's not going to happen here. Dud game incoming from Justin Fields, I think. And the possibility of getting benched is not zero. This team played better with Tyrod Taylor than they did with Fields. And if this thing gets really ugly at half, there's a scenario where Justin Fields not the starting quarterback in the third quarter.
You're right. That's probably the most impressive stat we're going to hear all day. Yep. Broncos have allowed 15 rushing yards. That's 3 yards per game through 5 weeks, obviously. And they've played Hurts and Danny Dimes. Wow. That's great. Paul Charchian, our guest, GuillotineLeagues.com. He's on the Progressive guest line. Great performance last week from rookie running back Jacory Krosky-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill. Is this something that he's going to build upon and turn it into this whole thing about throwing darts with the Commander's backfield? Is he the guy now? Does this continue?
I think what we saw last week was the breakout game for a young possible star who's going to emerge. It was a 3-man log jam in Washington, and we were just waiting for somebody to have the breakout game. It's Bill. Krosky-Merritt gets double the snaps last week, double the carries as anybody else, and he looked great, and he got the team's only goal line carry. And now, Monday night, he's going to face the Bears. Last time we saw the Bears, prior to the bye, they were giving up 200 rushing yards to the Raiders.
Yes.
Last year, Chicago allowed the most fantasy points to runners. This year, Chicago has improved all the way to the 4th most fantasy points to opposing runners. So it's green light for Jacory Krosky-Merritt. I've got him as running back 13 this week, ahead of Derrick Henry.
Wow.
Excellent.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say that's
By the way, do you want to hear some Derrick Henry futility stats that are astounding?
They're not breaking tackles again?
Yeah, that's part of it. It's Henry had the breakout game in week 1, and we're like, hey, it's found of you. Derrick Henry's going to be fine. Since that game, he's carried the ball 46 times. Let me tell you where he ranks among every NFL runner who's carried the ball 46 times since the opener. He is second to last in yards per carry at 3.2. Derrick Henry is dead last in yards after contact. He's dead last in avoided tackle rate. He hasn't topped 50 yards. And here's your craziest Derrick Henry futility stat. Since that opening game, he has 1 broken tackle. Nobody else that has his 46 carries has less than 7. Derrick Henry has 1 broken tackle since the opener. That's it. So maybe we are finally to the point where Derrick Henry is cooked.
Well, I mentioned this earlier, right? Because Barkley's 28, and I said that age for running backs where they fall off the cliff is 30. Henry's 31. Clearly was unbelievable again last year. Is this all him then? I mean, based on those numbers, it says a lot of it is on him, but they've also had, countless injuries so far this year. He's 31.
Yeah, more of the injuries on defense than the offensive line. But yes, I think that is part of it. But when there are things like broken tackles, that's an individual runner who needs to just, I need to run through a tackle. I need to make somebody miss. I need to have good footwork. There's a lot of this stuff that's one-on-one. Yards after contact, that's been Derrick Henry's whole career has been yards after contact and broken tackles.
Right.
And he's not doing that this year.
For some context
to me, this is a fundamental change.
Sorry, Charles, I didn't mean to cut you off there. But for some context, I want to go back. You tweeted this out, I want to say, after the game the Raiders played maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you were blown away. Didn't Genty have 11 broken tackles in one game?
13.
13?
Wow.
Derrick Henry's had 1 in 4 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's staggering. Staggering, yes.
Wow. All right, we're going to continue. You're going to hang tight for one more segment. It's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Awesome stuff there from Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian. You can follow him on X at Paul Charchian. Website is guillotineleagues.com. He was telling you that it might not be the sexiest game on Thursday night tonight, but he has a lot of angles that he likes on tonight's matchup. And he will detail a wide receiver who could go off based on his overall matchup in the passing game tonight. Find out who he's talking about next here on VSiN.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
This hour sponsored by Better. Better picks a daily fantasy sports app where your sports knowledge turns into real cash fast. Download Better or visit better.app now, BETR. Sign up today. Get your free money and no deposit necessary. Get Better, BETR.
Busy hour coming up here in 15 minutes. Look ahead lines next week. Week 7 already in the National Football League. Steve Wiss on the program. Lower leagues in soccer, his best bets. And we begin the hour talking college football. John Talty joins the program, does a great job covering the sport for CBS Sports, and he is hooked up with us here on the Progressive Guest Line. John, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Good. Appreciate you guys having me on.
You bet. Overall, just like your reaction initially yesterday to the news and the overall mess between Bill Belichick and what has gone on and is going on currently at the North Carolina program.
Yeah, it just feels like a soap opera at this point. There's a new storyline every day. I mean, just in the last 2 weeks or so, it seems like there's something that pops up every day. And I was thinking yesterday, because I was at UNC's first game, and I remember walking around campus talking to fans and also like some of their big time boosters, and the level of excitement was off the charts. And there was this like, finally we have a real coach. Finally, we're going to get over the hump and be more than just a basketball school. And I thought about those people yesterday and how much of a mess this has turned out to be. I think certainly there's a lot of smoke around the situation. Talked to somebody pretty close to the program yesterday who said, listen, like, we hear all the stuff that's happening outside. It's still status quo inside here. Bill's not looking for an exit strategy. We're making calls right now to recruits to try to, calm the waters. But there's a lot of industry discussion about that this is not going well and that, it's not going to probably last. He signed a 5-year deal. I think it's guaranteed for 3. I don't think anybody expects him to get to anywhere close to that at this current rate. And it's just in so many ways been a disaster from, they think they're hiring the greatest coach of all time. And instead, it's just been a mess in almost every way.
Yes, you're right about it. Something new every day. And they've been in the news for all the wrong reasons. How about they could see it as, let's just get out from under this. Whether the reports are true that he approached them, but they could just say, come to an agreement. We don't want to give you $10 million a year for 3 years, and how high the embarrassment factor is, and we can just walk away from this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly there are people who I think that would be appeal to. The big question is Bill Belichick one of them, right? And I think what part of the challenge is going to be about any sort of negotiated deal, if that's the door they decide to go through, is that what real career prospects does Bill Belichick have right now? He's not going to the NFL. That was made clear to him a year ago. It's why he's in college to begin with. There's not NFL interest in him. And after the absolute mess that this has been at UNC, what college program is hiring right now? The answer is none. So can he pick up some media gigs? Sure. I mean, he did it a year ago. He did a bunch. I'm sure he can make some money doing that. But is he going to make $20 million worth, which is what they'll owe him past this year? I don't see it. So you might see a bit of a standoff here where, if he could jump to another job, it's a little bit easier to agree to a deal where everybody gets something out of it. But it's hard for me to see him wanting to walk away from considerable money, knowing that this is the twilight of his career. I don't see there being another major coaching position for him. So that's something that I think he has to consider. But, there's what we also have to remember is that the athletic director did not want to hire Bill Belichick. This was a trustee chancellor level thing. And so those are, important people in these kind of deals. And do those people have the humility to admit, we just really messed this one up and we should have agreed and listened to our AD? Maybe, but those people also tend to have high opinions of themselves. And so I don't know if they'll quite be the ability to walk away less than a year into this thing.
Well, how about this angle too? When you talk about the kids playing for Belichick with the program, and it was a bizarre scheduling stretch right now because they had the bye week to get ready for Clemson. That game was over with in the first quarter or the first half. Now they have another bye week, but then they have to pick it up and fly across country to play a pretty good Cal team. Will they even care to play for him for the final, 7 regular season games of the year?
That's the big question, I think, at this point. And that's when things can really turn on their head. I mean, they looked awful against every Power 4 team they played this season. I mean, I'll just call it what it is. And I think there were talent concerns coming into the season with that roster, but certainly there are coaching issues as well. I mean, they're just getting embarrassed on the field and, off the field with all these negative headlines. And so, Cal's a pretty good team, as you mentioned. Like, they've got a good young quarterback, Justin Wilcox, defensive guy. They've typically had pretty good defenses. It's a tough, cross-country trip. Friday night, I think, is when that game is. And so it's a tricky one to have to manage. And, what we've seen is that they have not looked good, even when they should have every reason to be trying their best. So now, after all of this drama and speculation, does he still have the pulse of the locker room? Can he still get those guys to play for him? I think it's an open question right now. And certainly I can tell you from talking to different agents of players, there are already guys that are expecting to hit the portal here in a couple months. So when you're already hearing that of guys kind of planning that next step for their careers, you wonder how locked in guys are to this season, knowing it's been such a disappointment and it might get worse from here on out.
Excellent breakdown.
Yeah, well said.
Very good. So Bama plays Missouri. Great turnaround by DeBoer since the loss to Florida State. No shame in losing to the Seminoles. Good team, but how it happened and getting blown out and the issues on the ground. Simpson's been excellent. Are you buying Missouri here at home and Alabama only a 2.5-point favorite?
Yeah, I'm calling this the contender or pretender game, because both these teams, in theory, are playoff contenders. In theory, they're both SEC title contenders. And I think we'll find out a lot more about both of them after this game. I mean, Missouri has potentially the best running back in the country right now. They rank very highly in all the kind of nerd stats that you might like. But they've also they just don't win games like this typically. I don't think they've won a game at home against a top 10 opponent in 50 plus years at this point. So you've got some of that history going against them. And then, Bama's on a roll right now. They looked awful against Florida State, but they rebounded in a way that I think says something about them. They've been resilient. They looked very good coming off the bye and being able to beat Georgia the way they did. And this is the next, I think, real test for them. Can you go on the road Early game start, it's gotten buzz maybe more than it typically would, but it's not LSU, it's not Tennessee, it's not these kind of typical rivalry games that your guys are going to get up for. It's a real question, and I think it's been the biggest question of the DeBoer era is how he can get his guys up for games on the road. You look at all the games they've lost: Florida State, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. They're all on the road. And so anytime they leave Tuscaloosa, you always worry a bit about them. They passed that first test against Georgia and Athens a couple weeks ago, but I'm still curious to see how they show up against Missouri. And, Drinkwitz, I think, is a good coach. I'm sure he'll have some things dialed up early on, but I still overall like Bama in that game, but I'm a little nervous just kind of laying out all the things I just did.
Fair enough. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, John Talty, he covers college football for CBS Sports. He's on the Progressive guest line. Final game here for you, John, and that is, I'm looking right now, 35 minutes ago, looks like John Mateer deemed questionable officially for the game this weekend against Texas. In the summer, Texas was a 10-point favorite. As we are sitting here right now, they are a 1-point favorite. Your thoughts on that number, and is there any chance Mateer actually plays in this game?
I think there is a chance that John Mateer plays in this game. There's been optimism emanating out of the Oklahoma program, publicly, but also behind the scenes. But there's a couple things that I do wonder, and you guys are really the experts in this area. That number feels a little off to me. Again, just what we've seen from Texas, what we've seen from Oklahoma, you would think if, the smart guys like you out in Vegas think that Mateer's playing, that number would be flipped, and Oklahoma might be a couple-point favorite. That's just what I think from my outside perspective on things. But, there certainly is a chance, I think a decent chance that he plays in this game. And the other thing that we do have to remember, and I was talking to someone about this the other day, it does benefit Oklahoma in this current moment for there to be questions around it. Both, whether he plays or doesn't, Texas has to now prepare for two guys potentially playing. And so that, I think, is a benefit to Oklahoma. That's why they don't mind the fact that this is dragging out and it's going to continue to drag out. My expectation is that Mateer will try to go, and it might be a true game time. Let's see how things look. And, we find out maybe an hour or so before kickoff that, hey, here's who the guy who's actually going to be, whether it's Mateer or Michael Hawkins. But I think it is going to kind of come down to the wire, in part just to make Texas have to prepare for both potential options.
That makes a lot of sense. You can follow John on X at @JTalt. He does a great job covering college football for CBS Sports. John, great spot as always. Thanks for the time. We appreciate that.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see how the players are going to respond for Belichick.
Yeah.
Next Friday night.
Those two angles I forgot to mention, and he's right. The embarrassment factor with the people with the money, that this is a debacle and an embarrassment, and then they went behind the AD's back and got this deal done, and how he felt about it, because that was a interesting press conference when he was introduced.
Sure. And again, with this new world that we've had in college football, college sports for the last couple of years, they could all be like, I'm out of this program at the end of the year anyway. I don't care at all for this dude anymore. We'll get into look at headlines for Week 7 already in the National Football League coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get into the Dodgers-Phillies game number 4. I have a couple of bets on the game. That's starting in just over 30 minutes from right now. But as we speak, we head out to the Progressive guest line as Steve Wyss joins the program. You can follow him on X. He's at MeatManSoccer. He's with Because We Win and the Nordic Football Podcast as well. So there's no Prim this week. And we asked Meatman if he's got any bets, breakdowns, analysis of some of these lower league games. And he said, absolutely. And I look forward to this stuff, I think, more than the Prim, as I was telling Steve during the break. And I can't wait for the breakdown on Kazakhstan as they play in an international match tomorrow. That's coming up in a few minutes, Steve. But as always, thanks for the time, Meatman. How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good, thanks, guys. I hope you're well. And, it's the international soccer break around the world, which means there's less high-profile games on. But there's always money to be made, and it's a great chance to give a few more breakdowns on the lower league English plays this week, plus a couple of tidbits in the international soccer.
Well said. All tickets cash the same. We'll begin in League One on Saturday. Stockport takes on Blackpool. Who do you like in this match?
Stockport on the money line, minus 137. I've used them before on this show, and they've often delivered for me. Solid sort of team, only lost one match at home this season. A few too many draws for their liking, but this is a brilliant matchup because Blackpool are in an absolute mess right now. They have lost all 5 away games this season. They've only scored 1 goal and conceded nine goals in their away games, so they're terrible travellers. They've also sacked their manager this week. Steve Bruce has been relieved of his duties, but the problem is they haven't appointed anyone new yet. So I'm always a bit wary and my guard is up when a new manager takes over, but they haven't got one yet. So I think it's a great chance for Stockport to take advantage of Blackpool's problems. And you cannot argue with the stats with Blackpool, especially away from home. Stockport historically very strong at home, 1 loss here, minus 137. You could argue it almost looks a bit of a gift, really. Straight money line home win.
Excellent breakdown. Love it. Phenomenal. How about Northampton? Also sticking with League One.
Yeah, Rotherham. I gave them out at the start of the season on this show.
You did.
Plus 400 to be relegated. And I'm getting a bit excited about it because they are struggling mightily. They may well be managerless soon if they keep losing games because they're second bottom of the table. Another team yet to pick up a point away from home. And they face this Northampton team who metrically, if you like unders, then Northampton's your team. 9 out of 10 matches under 2.5 goals. And that is probably another very, very good bet for this game at minus 137. But Northampton money line looks way too big at plus 110. This is a team that is so tight defensively. If they score 1 goal in the game, it's probably going to be enough to beat this really poor Rotherham side who are not travelling well, who I said at the start of the season are going to have a bad year. So it's no surprise to me to see them in this position. And the only real surprise are the odds here. Plus 110 on the money line. This should be minus 150. So you're looking at 1-0 and 2-0 correct score as well for those who like to bet on the correct score betting because it's very, very likely.
Yep. Some dreadful clubs here. I'm also surprised at the price. You're right. Peterborough, bottom of the table. They've been awful. We discussed that as well. Nigel had a great tweet last year. He was at a League Two match, and he was in, quote, the VIP area, and it was under a tent and a picnic table with a sausage sandwich. A little bit different from the Prem. But you've been all over Chesterfield here, and you've had some nice winners in League Two with Chesterfield, top 10 in the table. What do you think of the Chesterfield match?
I think this could be one of the best games of the weekend, actually, in England lower leagues for entertainment and goals because we've got Salford, they are well backed financially off the field and they're desperate to get promotion. And they're kind of basing their strategy on just scoring a lot of goals. 17 goals they've scored this season. Their underlying metrics say that they've got the best expected goals of any team in the league. So we know they've got some heavy hitting. Their problem is defensively for Salford. They don't keep enough clean sheets. No clean sheet in the last 7 for them. And Chesterfield had a good start to the season, but they're starting to concede a lot of goals. 10 goals conceded in their last 4 games. 7 of their last 9 matches have gone over 2.5 goals. They lost 6-2 last week. But I do actually still rate Chesterfield as an offensive force. This is just one of those games where it's going to be a shootout. Whoever scores the most is going to get the result. This could be 3-2 or even 4-3 to someone. I've no idea who's going to win, but I am pretty sure there's going to be goals. So minus 137 looks very, very good for over 2.5 goals here, guys.
All right. What do you want to do? You have some interesting information here with Kazakhstan and who their opponent is.
Well, this is kind of bonkers, really, guys. But, I've got a bet here. Kazakhstan minus 2.25 Asian handicap. Against Liechtenstein, this kicks off at, I think, 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. This is, for a start, this is a 4,000-mile trip for Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein are genuinely one of the worst teams in world soccer. Only 6 teams are ranked worse than them. The likes of Bahamas and the British Virgin Islands and San Marino, of course. San Marino, the worst ranked side in world soccer. They lost 10-0 today, San Marino, against Austria. I can tell you now, Liechtenstein lost to San Marino last year by 3-1. That's how bad Liechtenstein are. They are terrible. They are one of the worst teams that I've ever seen. And, they've lost their last 8 games by 2 or more goals. They haven't scored in the last 8 matches. they're terrible. And Kazakhstan won the reverse fixture 2-0. I mean, Kazakhstan are not a great side, but home advantage is going to be really big. One of the teams from Kazakhstan did qualify for the Champions League this year in Europe, so you could argue that their league is actually improving. And as a bare minimum, Kazakhstan should be winning the game by 2 goals. But this could probably be like 4 or 5, really, because Liechtenstein, like I say, are truly one of the worst sides in the world. 204th ranked soccer side in world FIFA rankings.
All right, so when I'm searching for this match on different apps, can you walk us through that briefly? Like, what do we need to look for to click on like that? You know, it's an international qualifier here, so what are we clicking on here to find it?
World Cup qualifying Europe, and then you're looking at the game spread, and you're looking at minus 2.25. If you can't get on that, just take minus 2.5, because I think they win this probably by 3 or 4, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I found it under
so that's what you're
UEFA.
looking at.
I'm sorry, I found it under UEFA World Cup qualifying. There you go. Yep.
That's the one, yeah. Exactly
Beautiful.
that.
Okay.
All right. Also, same thing, Wales?
Yeah, this is a Monday game, actually.
Okay.
One of the most high-profile fixtures. And I think there's going to be a lot of goals here. Over 2.5 goals looks really generously priced up at minus 120. I mean, I've just seen Wales this evening play against England. England beat them 3-0, and it was 3-0 after 25 minutes, and then it became a bit of a non-event, really. Wales are an improved nation, and they've got a decent manager, Craig Bellamy, who is pretty attack-minded. He says he's going to go for the win here against Belgium. They have a chance of qualifying for the World Cup, Wales, which would be a brilliant achievement for them. But they're not going to do it unless they beat Belgium. So they've got to be gung-ho attacking. They can't settle for a draw. The previous meeting ended a barnstorming 4-3 win for Belgium. It was one of the best matches of international games I've seen probably in the last calendar year, where Wales actually came from 3-0 down to draw, and then they conceded late. Belgium have just won their last 2 matches 6-0. They're playing tomorrow, actually, against North Macedonia. But, I mean, this Belgium side are capable of covering the goal line all by themselves. But I think we could get a very similar type of match to the reverse meeting, which was that 4-3 result, like I said. And this looks a really good goals bet for Monday. So plenty of bets over the whole weekend in this international window.
Great job, my man.
Very good.
Can't wait to talk to you next week. Excellent breakdown. Good luck. Stay hot.
Thanks so much. Take care, guys. See you next week.
The Meat Man, the Butcher, on a Progressive Guest Line. At Meat Man Soccer on X. Those are they change managers like we change socks over here. With you have a 3-game losing streak and that's it. Breaking news: LeBron James, yet to participate in training camp, is out 3 to 4 weeks. Sciatica on his right side. Nerve irritation in his glute. How long could he be out? J.J. Redick, he's on his own timetable.
That's probably going to be the answer for everything with LeBron moving forward for the rest of his career.
Yep. They play the Warriors opening night, second game of the doubleheader on NBC, October 21st. Yeah, he was supposed to come back after not playing in the preseason. Now he's out 3 to 4. That's tough.
Are you more inclined to bet Luka to lead the league in scoring now?
Yeah.
Or do you want to wait
Pretty
till
good.
after the Warriors game because they're on paper again going to be like really, really good defensively? And like who else can beat who else can beat you really right now? Reeves can. He's good.
Yeah.
But it's not like the Lakers are this super deep team where they can have like 5 different guys beat you every single night.
They had that good run, though, when LeBron and Luka weren't there and Reeves was carrying them. But I think he's on a mission, yeah. Dropping all the weight, getting ripped. Good off-season program. I think he has a huge year. That is painful, too. Goes right down your legs.
You've had that, yeah?
Oh, does that hurt? Pain in the ass.
What do you do to like treat it?
I just have to go massages like 3 times a week, and you got to get it. This one gal was excellent. Just got to get in there and
He's
comes
got
down your legs.
Think
and
about
she
this.
does a great job.
LeBron will have the best people in the world to treat this at his becking call, right? And so he's still going to miss 3 to 4 weeks as a result of it, minimum.
Yeah, that's surprising. Tough. Damn.
Did he have too much Hennessy? Fall down, hurt himself?
I'm glad people were bothered by that. I couldn't believe it.
The decision part 2.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. All right, man. We have a huge game coming up in Los Angeles, right around the corner. I have a couple of bets on it. We'll break it down coming up next. And follow the money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. Thanks for watching on YouTube TV, listening Sirius XM channel 158, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any of our great affiliates across the country. In this hour, we'll reset the Thursday night football game. Eagles, about a touchdown favorite on the road against the Giants with player props. And the Dodgers-Phillies game will be underway coming up in less than 10 minutes. And to kick off the hour, we'll talk more about that game with Adam Burke, who is the managing editor at vsin.com, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Adam, good afternoon. Thanks for the time. How are you?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Before we get into your play for tonight, don't you think last night was like a really good reminder and maybe like a teaching lesson, like momentum doesn't mean anything? I mean, right, all you heard pretty much was the Blue Jays were on the ropes by the Yankees. The Dodgers series was over with. The Brewers absolutely shellacked the Cubs in the first couple of games, and then it was 3-0 Seattle in the game against Detroit, and then look what happened.
Yeah, I mean, look, at this point, we're talking about all good teams, right? So on any given night, a team can play up to its potential, play down to, maybe its lowest point. So, the variance of the MLB playoffs is just always going to be there night in and night out. But again, these are all really good teams. So, they've got really good players. They've got really good hitters. They've got really good relievers. So, it's really not that surprising. You kind of get some of these back and forth types of things. And, look, I mean, when your back's against the wall and the other team's got a little bit of a cushion, maybe there is a little bit of an extra push. For example, the Dodgers going, to Clayton Kershaw in the 8th was really, really strange. We come to find out Tanner Scott wasn't available. But, with Tyler Glasnow going today, just means that Dave Roberts wanted all of those guys available and didn't really feel like he had much of a chance to come back in game 3. So, there's a chess match between the two managers, but there's also a lot of good players on all these teams. And so any given night, somebody can step up and help their team win a ball game.
Yeah, no doubt. So having said that, with the game starting now, coming up in a few minutes here, who do you like in this Phillies-Dodgers game?
Yeah, so, I mean, I took a pregame position on the Phillies. Obviously there's live betting opportunities throughout the postseason. When you've got pitching changes, you've got, maybe at times through the order penalty, you can look to take advantage of with a starter, something like that. But I started with the Phillies tonight for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, Christopher Sanchez looked good, in game 1, but also he's an extreme ground ball guy, and it's tough to string hits together in this run environment of the postseason. A lot of times it's maybe you get a walk, you get a single, and then someone hits a 2-run homer, something like that. Sanchez is very, very stingy with allowing the long ball. But the other thing here is that for Tyler Glasnow, I mean, dating back to September 20th, he's only faced 21 batters. So, he pitched in relief earlier in the series, gave up a couple hits, a couple walks to the 8 batters that he faced 13 batters in September 23rd in his final regular season appearance. Like, it's hard to ask a guy to, figuratively roll out of bed and all of a sudden be really good, in a postseason elimination game. So I took the Phillies for that reason. And I also like Tyler Glasnow over 1.5 walks. You're paying a little bit of juice on this one. It's in the minus 130 range, minus 135, but I don't expect him to be super, super sharp here in, a really, really big game where Philadelphia maybe did take a little bit of that momentum back yesterday. So that's what I got. I got Phillies to start with, and we'll see if I hold that position or if maybe I get a good opportunity to take the Dodgers live, something like that.
That was awesome that the Judge walk prop got there. Intentional walk with nobody on. How about the late game with the Cubbies and Brewers?
Yeah, this was a tough one, obviously, because, you didn't know throughout most of the day who was going to be pitching for these two teams. It makes sense that they're sending out Freddie Peralta and Matthew Boyd here. I mean, for Peralta, if you're the Brewers, you want to shut this thing down right now. You don't want to go to a game 5 where anything can happen. Yeah, you're at home and that's great. But the biggest issue for the Brewers throughout the course of the season has been reliable rotation depth. You didn't know that Quinn Priester was going to be as good as he's been. You didn't know that Chad Patrick was going to be as good as he's been. You didn't know that Mizorowski was going to come up and, look pretty good until he kind of struggled late in the season. So I think you've got to send Peralta tonight. I think it makes sense. His whip is a decent amount higher, walks and hits per innings pitched, a decent amount higher on 4 days rest than it is on 5 days rest. So that was something that kind of scared me off a little bit with Milwaukee. But again, for Matthew Boyd, he was going on short rest, they said in game 1, but he didn't have a full outing in the wild card series anyway. He just didn't locate. And this is a Brewers lineup that at the top, in the top half of it specifically, is really, really good against lefties. So if I was to do anything here, and I still have a little bit of time to think about it, maybe Brewers first 5, maybe it's just chaos at the end. But I think Peralta is the right call here. And I think given the options, Boyd's probably the right call for the Cubs too.
4 college football games tonight. How about the marquee matchup, Tulane 6.5 against East Carolina?
Yeah, so I mean, this is one to me, and we're going to start seeing a lot of these games here, over the next couple of weeks, where you just have some pretty big strength of schedule discrepancies. And I like to use Jeff Sagarin's numbers, formerly of USA Today. He's got his own website now. Tulane's played the 31st ranked schedule in the country, and East Carolina has played the 85th. So this line makes sense. And, both of these teams kind of have pretty similar numbers, in terms of yards per play on offense and defense, but Tulane's played the better schedule. So to me, if East Carolina can do well here, stepping up in class, then sure, good for them. But I think there are some areas of negative regression for this team on third down on offense, on third down on defense, as the schedule ramps up a little bit. And also Jake Retzlaff can get out there and run around. He really actually hasn't been that good of a passer for Tulane here so far, but he's been a good runner. And when you get the dual threat guy that can keep you on time and on schedule with the early down success rates, that's something that can help you move the football. So I took Tulane minus 6.5 tonight, and I do love East Carolina's head coach, Blake Harrell. Really, really good defensive coordinator, good head coach. But I think Tulane's just the more talented, more battle-tested team.
Very good. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Adam Burke, managing editor at VSiN.com. Do you have a bet on the NFL game tonight, or did you see, and we have such great content every single day from multiple people that people can read on their own. Did you see anything from Zach Cohen or Mackin or somebody else that caught your eye? Or like, I might have to look into that for tonight.
Well, something I think is interesting. So I write a first touchdown article every Thursday over at vsin.com, and our executive producer, Stephanie Kamershak, actually started the spreadsheet, and then I took the article over when she got some more responsibilities there on the production side. So I had a nice framework to build off of. And, so I tracked the first touchdown scored by each team in every game, and I track whether or not they scored on their opening possession with the ball. And I think something that's really interesting here, both of these teams have scored the first touchdown of the game in each of the last 4 games. And for the Giants, they've actually scored on their first possession in the 2 games started by Jackson Dart. So maybe things are just working a little bit better. Maybe the Brian Daboll scripted drive is doing pretty well. But the thing that really caught my eye here in kind of trying to handicap the first touchdown market here for tonight is that the Giants only have 3 red zone receptions on 11 targets. So they've had a really hard time getting the ball to Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Neighbors before he got hurt, any of the other guys that are out there. Theo Johnson's been the most efficient guy in the red zone, and obviously he scored the first touchdown last week for them and added another one for good measure. So I'm probably looking at one of the chalky options for the Eagles if you're looking at the first touchdown market. And Theo Johnson probably makes sense at, 22, 20-1 out there, whatever you can get, because, Neighbors isn't out there. And to this point, we haven't seen Wan'Dale Robinson really be a good red zone option yet.
Great job with the NBA betting guide. It dropped on Tuesday, less than 2 weeks away from the start of the season. LeBron out the first 3 weeks. What's your favorite bet or any takeaways from the betting guide and what you like in the NBA from a season-long standpoint?
My favorite bet is to become a VSiN Pro subscriber. I think that's the best way to prepare for the NBA season. I give full credit to Zachary Cohen for the NBA betting guide. I do a lot around here. There's a lot of sports that I cover, but the NBA betting guide, that is Zach's project. He gets to do it from start to finish. I trust him completely and utterly with that guide, and he did a phenomenal job with it, doing all 30 of the team previews. Jonathan Von Tobel with a couple of feature articles in there. But I think the thing that people should really key in on are the live betting tips.
Yes.
Because the NBA is a market that's really, really good for live betting. It's one of the reasons why the handle is so big for the NBA. You have all these people just hanging out in Discord channels, watching the game together, stuff like that. But foul trouble is such a big deal. You've got on-off stats that you can look through. You can find some really, really good live betting angles. And that's something that we tried to magnify in this year's NBA betting guide.
Well said. And I also like that Bidlin pointed out that, hey, look, we love betting alternate win totals now in the NFL. Why not in the NBA? It's an 82-game schedule, and a lot of these teams are going to go either over or under their win total by like 5 games or more.
Right, yeah, for sure. Especially if you talk about a team that's maybe really, really superstar dependent. Superstar misses a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, something like that, and all of a sudden, they're kind of up against it a little bit. Or just teams that simply don't have depth, don't have a good second unit. 82 games is a grind. A lot of travel, back-to-backs, 4 and 6s, stuff like that. If you don't have depth, if you don't have guys that can come off the bench and score for you, that makes it really, really tough to sustain a lot of success because your big horses get tired at the end of the year. So I think alternate win totals in every sport are worth looking at. but definitely one like the NBA for sure.
Totally agree. And tip of the cap to you and everybody involved on a daily basis with the website, because there's so much great content. It's well worth becoming a VSiN Pro subscriber, no doubt. Adam, thanks for the time. Good luck tonight.
Yeah, I just want to mention here, we are 2 weeks away from the release of our VSiN college basketball betting guide. So that one's coming quick, October 23rd. Doing a lot of work for that one, but it's crazy how fast the sports betting calendar goes. And just another reason to become a VSiN Pro subscriber, because you got another guide coming in 2 weeks.
Yeah, no kidding. That is, oh my God, that's blazing fast. All right, Adam, thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
I just had a flashback to Ferris Bueller. Life comes at you pretty fast.
Right. I told you this off air. I think people would be shocked by this. Tim Bontemps, ESPN, did the annual NBA.com survey of all 30 of the league's front offices. For the 6th year in a row, they said Spoelstra is the best coach in the league.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's impressive.
That's pretty strong.
6 years in a row.
Yeah, and I want to say that the GM said that Joker's going to win the MVP.
And best passer, yeah. Yeah.
And I think they all pretty much agreed that OKC's going to repeat.
Yeah, about 80%.
Okay.
Yep. Love Al Lasso, credible lawyer. If you need help, you're hurt, call Al Lasso. If you're in an accident, the other driver doesn't have insurance or not nearly enough, you're the one stuck with medical bills, repairs, and lost wages. Their experienced teams knows the ins and outs of uninsured and underinsured motorist claims. They fight to make sure you're not left paying for someone else's mistakes. Lasso Injury Law, consultations free. 702-625-8777. Lasso Injury Law, your future matters. Visit lassoinjurylaw.com, 702-625-8777.